The ones, okay, who are subscribed, thank you. Check that your neighbor has subscribed. Because every time we check our statistics, we get confused. Why are 60% of you watching videos and not subscribing? Suspicious? I think yes. And it really helps our channel grow. It really helps just for us to be able to continue to bring the content that we bring to you. So please subscribe. I see people on their phones, so I feel like this is happening. Subscriptions are rising as we speak. Juanita is checking and she's saying, we are going from 30K to I love it. I love it. So subscribe, follow. We are now on podcast platforms as well. So you can check us out on podcast and follow us. It really, really does help. I know it seems like whatevs, I've watched their stuff, but it really helps us grow if you subscribe to our content. Now, I wanted to introduce our speakers just a little bit better, but before I do, there are people who have come together to help us like actually sit in this room, and we want to give them a very like sincere thank you. First is Skies Hotel, and please clap for them, please. This is the second year. Actually, even in our first year, we stayed here. So this is the third year we've worked with them. They're always so open. They give us a space to have these conversations with you, and we appreciate it. I hope you guys have enjoyed the view. If you haven't, this is the hotel like on the tippy tip of Kampala. So if you can enjoy that view later on, please do. So thank you very much to Skies. And I'd just like to say the water pressure
In this place is top notch. They have all the water
top
pressure
tier.
in Kampala. I'm
It's
telling
true.
you.
It's
You want
true.
eh? You come here.
Yeah, not
Just
like
book
the
a
one
room.
over at home.
Just book a room.
It's the nice one. So thank you so much, Skies. And then I'd also like to give a sincere thank you to Nzou Media. All the people you see moving around with cameras are Nzou Media. Please give them a clap. If you are on your phone, which I know we are, please follow them on social media. They have done that. If you've watched our show this year or you've listened to the podcast, you know that we have upgraded. We are continuing to arise because Nzou does the most, don't they just?
The best team for the best team.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it. Top tier. So thank you so much, Zoe. And a very big thank you as well to Eye Candy. They set up all the prettiness that we are sitting in. So thank you so much, Eye Candy. Please do follow them. And we appreciate your support in getting this together. Please give them a clap, you guys. Okay, now I won't be telling you to give a clap. You'll be knowing when I talk about someone or thank you. You're like, right? That's
You
where
have
we
a
are
baby
now.
shower, a bridal shower, a birthday, anything. If you want to just celebrate yourself, Eye Candy is your guy.
Plug in, plug in. We love. We hope that you guys can be able to support the businesses that support us because honestly, they are the ones that help us bring this together. Okay. So on that note, guys, we're going to get into our conversation. Now, you guys know, at least most of you know, if you've consumed even one or two videos of ours, primarily our audience is women because we are women. When we created the channel, we had women in mind. And a lot of the conversations we have go by without the input of men. And we thought it would be really, really nice to have some men on and have conversations around relating, actually, primarily relating. There's all this focus on romantic relationships. I feel like every time we even hear the word love, doesn't your mind straight go like doesn't it immediately go? You're not thinking of agape love. I don't lie because Gideon is sitting next to me, the Reverend Captain. We're not thinking of agape love. Immediately we hear love, we're thinking about romance, my man, my babe. But there's a lot more in there. So we just want to have a really good conversation into that. We'll definitely also ask you guys to contribute. This is the only chance that we have to hear you guys in person because for the most part we just see you in the comments. So we hope you guys will feel free. I hope you can feel really comfortable. This is not a conference. Yeah, I know we are dressed up, but like relax. Feel as relaxed as possible. Like the vibe I want for us, you guys, is to feel really, really comfortable. If you feel in the middle of something, you want to say something, give me this one. And we will spot you and we'll let you say something. So feel as relaxed as possible, get a drink, and just feel at home. Okay? Are we feeling at home? Okay, if we're not, we're getting there. Okay, so we're going to have a couple of segments to this because we have quite a bit to get into. So we're going to divide this into a couple of segments. So for this first segment, first of all, let me say, imagine how we have sponsors. Who are we?
Sponsors.
Who are we?
The Unpopular Opinion.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So, as the unpopular opinion, this first segment is brought to you by Me Time by Sheens, who are an amazing local beauty brand. You guys have understood the assignment. I like it.
Me Time is honestly, I've been using it for if you follow me, you know. I've been using it for a long time, and it changed generally the glow. You know that melanin glow.
Oh yeah,
The sun
baby.
hits you and you're just shining.
Mwah.
That is Me Time by Sheins, and I love Me Time by Sheins. They've been so instrumental in. First of all, they sponsored last year. They're sponsoring again this year. They support Ugandan creators, and we love also supporting Ugandan businesses. And it's just that we grow, you grow, everybody grows. Me Time, thank you so, so much. And you know what? If you look at me nicely and smile, I'll give you a small Me Time package. Just smile nicely. You know, you just give me, or tell me you're beautiful, something. Just give me something nice. Yeah?
Give you one of these ones. Eh? Okay.
I'll give you a Me Time package.
Okay, so I wanted you guys also to get to know the people sitting with us just before we get into the conversation. So, gentlemen, let me start with you, Reverend Captain Gideon Muhima. You guys, I'm elevating in life. Eh? Like, oh my God. So, I'll say your name, and then you'll say present, because this is Uganda. And then I'll mention something about you, and you just say like, if it's true, you say yes. If there's a question there, you respond. Reverend Captain Gideon Muhima,
Present.
speaker of truth.
True.
Which truth is this?
God's truth.
Glory. All right. Student of the word.
True.
What word is that? Still don't know.
God's word.
Amen.
That is it.
That's it. Plain
That's
and
it.
simple. Also a father
Father.
and husband.
True.
For how many years now?
5 years now.
Ah, praise God.
Amen.
Love to see it.
Good, thank you.
Gwanda JR.
Present.
What's your real name?
Present.
I have it on good authority that it's Derek.
No.
No. Eh?
This big guy did. I changed that name. It's Mohanguzi.
Okay.
It's
Derek.
Mohanguzi.
All right. Artist.
I'll say it again.
Artist.
What do I say? True.
Is it true?
Is that you mean who I am?
Yeah.
That's what I do. That's not who I am.
Nice.
Yeah.
Mental wellness advocate.
That's what I do. That's not who I am.
Actor.
That's what I do. That's not who I am.
Keeper of the flame.
That's what I am. That's who I am. Truth.
What does that mean?
Fire burning. You get me, bro.
Tsunami.
You know what I mean?
I don't know if you've understood that one.
Anyway, honestly, we all are keepers of flames. Which flames? Who say which flames?
It's a valid question.
The Holy Ghost. You know what I mean?
All right.
Yeah.
Causing frequencies to vibrate.
To vibrate, you know what I mean? Just changalanya disruption. Disrupt the matrix.
Aren't you jazzing us, Quencha?
Not quencher. This is real. This is real.
If you're serious.
This is organized porridge, but we move. Yeah.
All right, Biwall.
Present.
Fixer.
Absolutely.
Of what?
Of life. Yeah.
That's okay. We're going to get into that. A traveler.
Absolutely.
Speaker.
Oh, hell yeah.
Blogger.
Yep.
And netizen.
That would be me.
Okay. Just in
Yes.
case you're not a person who is on the internet like that, netizen just means a citizen of the internets, of the websites and internet.
Aren't you guys feeling our guests? Like, I just feel like I love the difference, you know, the mixture.
All right. So our first segment is about masculinity and femininity. There are a lot of we hear toxic masculinity a lot online, and it's fantastic that we're having those conversations now. I don't think we had names for things back then, so it's refreshing. As we get older, there are actual names that we put to things, and we're like, oh, is that what that means? And then we keep on reassessing how that's changing and what that means to us. So on the topic of masculinity, let's just even start with that, because online, I just got like a quick definition. It says that they're the characteristics traditionally thought to be suitable for men. So I guess that can include anything from the muscles you're supposed to have to the food you're supposed to provide. I don't know. We're going to talk about it. So let me start with you, Gideon. What's your definition of masculinity? No pressure.
Yeah, that's a
Maybe
lot
some.
of pressure. Well, I do know that that definition does have bits and pieces of it. But the definition I would go with about what true masculinity is about is the expression of manliness in its glory. And by the word glory, I'm talking about the truest light of a man is seen through the aspects of masculinity. The trueness of any man, as when you look at a man and say that is the truth about a man, we are looking at the characteristics of masculinity.
Interesting. Like the trueness. Okay, so let me ask Wanda, what does the trueness of a man look like for you?
Essence, innit?
Wanji.
And the guys, bear with me. I tend to, lighten the mood because the guys just Bob Kazungu, so I have to just, lighten the mood. You get me? So I think it is. Ask the question again. Essence, innit? What's masculinity?
Okay, you speak English. This one that I
What's that?
understand.
Sorry, go on again.
So he was talking about. I asked him what like masculinity means to him, and he talked about the trueness.
The trueness of man, yeah.
What is the trueness of a man to you?
The trueness of a man is assuming the role the man was the role that was designed for the man, which is stepping into his authentic self, which on paper looks like I don't even know what it looks like on paper because there's tradition, there's all these norms that we've grown up under that to me seems what a man is supposed to be, which is really why we're here, because you might not agree with it, but I don't use the word patriarchy, but
Speak your truth. Speak your truth.
yeah, I have to tread slowly. That's what I'm saying. That's why I began with essence. So by the time we get into this jazz, so I think it's the patriarchy, really. Yeah?
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. We'll come back to that. But Biwo, what is masculinity to you? Like for you, at the base of when you think of masculinity, what does that look like?
I think the well, I want to call it the dictionary definition of masculinity is really just society's expectations of what a man should be, right? Which for me is quite limiting. And the word itself is, if there were words that I would want phased out, that would be one of them. Because it's very limiting in its definition of what a man should be. Because masculinity is what society expects you to be, or society demands of you. But we all know that the individual, has got a very personal identity, right? That might not conform to society's definition. So that means they may not be masculine. So the definition is very limiting for me. And it would be nice if it was broadened. Yeah.
To include what?
I mean, there must not be one particular definition, right? But my worry is the struggle to try and define or box things limits us as human beings, first of all, in our abilities, but it also makes people narrow-minded in their thinking, because somebody thinks, since society says this is what masculinity is, anything outside of that is looked at as evil or wrong, and that is not it. So there shouldn't be a particular definition, which is why I have an issue with, if somebody asks me what is masculinity, because that question is a problem.
Okay, I get it. It's about you feel like anyway, limiting is what you've said. So let me ask a woman, what does masculinity mean to you?
That's a really, really good question for a woman. But considering I am constantly around men, I have a brother, I had a dad, I have a husband, I might have a son one day. For me, protection, provision are very important, but not in the way that society has made. It's not just financial provision or financial or physical protection. It could be protection from. You see how I'll just. Okay. So you see how a lot of times in society, everyone, well, that's how men are, and they often men are allowed to get away with a lot of bad manners. You get, there are brothers, there are uncles, there are fathers, there are husbands, and it's just how men are. in my opinion, a good man, and I grew up with a really good man. My father was a good man. It's protecting his family from the consequences of those bad manners. Does that make sense? So protection isn't. We no longer fight bears. We no longer fight wars in the way they used to fight wars. So it has changed. It's not a physical protection. Yes, it can be. By the way, it can be. But how many of you have ever been attacked and a man has had to fight someone else off? Most of us have not. So that's not the kind of protection we need anymore. The kind of protection we need is men knowing that even just catcalling at us is sexual assault. You get it? And they need to know that. It's a protection. I don't want to feel unsafe. Does that make sense? So it's that, and do they call themselves out? Is a man enough to call another man out when they do something that is hurting a woman or a child? That to me is the definition, that like top tier masculinity.
Okay. So if top tier includes, okay, all right. I see people are agreeing with you. Guys, don't feel bad.
No,
All is well.
it's the woman's opinion.
Won't he do it? Won't God do it? It will be fine. So I feel like because you've touched on provision, and that's like a bit of a slippery topic, let's be honest. I think I don't even want to say just for the modern woman. It always has been. Is it 50-50? Is it 80-20? What is provision even? I'd love to hear from you, Gideon. In your definition of that, like that truth you were talking about of a man, does provision feature? And just even as an individual, like what do you appreciate that I don't want to say should, because like I said, that the truth is things are a little bit fluid. People seem to have different appreciations of what that looks like. But for you, in your truth, what does the provision of a man look like?
All right, first of all, I'm going to share. I think truth has been reduced to opinion. And I think that is something that we do need to attack head on, lest our society is just going to get dissolved into relativism. And, so even you saying speak your truth, as if, there are different kinds of truth. You can't say the truth and I say an opposing truth and they are both true. That's not, and so that's why I said the truthfulness of a man. And I think that is something that we want to dig into. And we all said that, it shouldn't be a broad definition of masculinity. I mean, it shouldn't be a limited definition of masculinity. And I think that truth is broad enough to define what masculinity is if we dare dig into truth. And so my inching into this is to ask what defines truth for us. Then that gives us how we understand reality. If it is our society, then our society defines truth. And that is why everything is fluid. If it is your family that defines truth for you, then how you view a man, how you view a woman is defined by the men or women in your family. So what defines truth for you? And from my point of view, as a Christian man, as one that believes that God is transcendent over everything, is the definition of truth, the one that gives me the reality of what everything else is, therefore defines for me who a man is. And so I need to find out what he believes a man is, or what he knows a man is, because I believe he's the one who created me as a man. And so he is the defining factor of what truth is. And therefore, when it comes to provision, I believe that God is the provider. And I simply, if I am made in his image, as I believe, the scriptures tell me that I am made in his image, there are aspects of me that reflect that provision of God. And I should be seeing it through that light. The moment I take on the responsibility of provider, I'm taking on the responsibility of my God. I have replaced him with me. Or society has replaced that God with me. And so, when that responsibility is placed on my shoulders and I fail, I will cease to be the idol that everyone looks at and see, this is the vision of a man I want, and I'll become the sacrifice on the altar of the man you want. I will be cut down by your words. I'll be cut down by your attitude. How can men, you're these things? You are pigs, you're dogs, you're cows, you're all these things. And I think that those words are cutting because there is an expectation of a man that you have that has gone beyond the truth to your own imagination of what you want. You've made man in your image and expect him to be that man. And when he fails, well then, he's trash.
Fiona, just Fiona, 1 second. I'm intrigued, right, for lack of another word, because I get the sense that your truth is anchored in the God you believe in, right? So here's a scenario. I'm not Christian. I don't believe in the existence of God. I'm agnostic, right? But on some level, I have a truth myself. It's not anchored in God, but it is a truth. And as you've said, there cannot be two different truths. There's got to be some kind of, singular truth, right? My question then, or my challenge, right, would be that as a non-Christian who's not anchored in God like you are, where does that leave me? Where do I anchor my truth? Must I feel alienated? Because I do on some level. People say, God is the source of that truth, right? But I don't believe in that God. So does that mean I have no source? Does that mean I'm truthless, right? So where does that leave me, who's non-Christian? Yeah.
May I respond to that?
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Biwal, and I appreciate that. I appreciate especially the skepticism of my statement of truth, because then it puts you in a position to seek truth. If I have found that truth is beyond this, it is beyond the ethereal, that it is anchored in a being beyond this, and you don't believe that, the challenge then would be where you're going to anchor your truth, where you're going to anchor truth, that it is not yours and it doesn't belong to anyone. Truth remains truth. So the humble position of I am still a seeker of truth. I don't know everything. If society has failed to define truth for me, because again, society has defined a man. If family has failed to define truth for me, if my wife has failed to define truth for me, am I going to just then make something up in my head and then call that truth? I think that the thing I appreciate about agnostics the most is that they're in a constant seeking position of truth. And I appreciate that as you continue to do that, that if hopefully, and that's my hope as a pastor, that one day you will find the truth in God. But I think it is a humble position to say, I don't know everything, and there hasn't been enough evidence for me to believe that that's the truth. And so I'm going to constantly seek.
Okay. All right. I'm sorry, you guys took me to another place. I may have actually pivoted. We've pivoted, and I love it. Claire, go ahead.
So I just wanted to say do you guys, and the reason why we brought a very diverse panel is because we all have very diverse beliefs. But we all need men in our lives, right? We all need women in our lives.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Cue
quite
applause.
often, we all believe what we believe is the truth. But at the end of the day, there's one singular truth, especially when it comes to men and women relating. Right?
What's that?
No, I said wrong. I said wrong. Hold on. Let me go back. When it comes to men and women relating, women want a specific thing. We want specific things, and I don't know a single woman that does not want provision and protection in their different, unique ways. Everyone is different in that way. And does that make sense? So regardless of who you believe in, what you believe in, where you anchor your truth, at the end of the day, if you're going to be with women around you, we need protection from all the men. We might not have a personal relationship, but I need to know that I'm going to sit next to a man I'm not going to get harassed, abused, touched, humiliated, demeaned. Does that make sense? And that's why it's important to have very different voices. You believe who you believe. If you're going more on the Christian side, that's okay. If you're believing more agnostic, that's also okay. If you're believing just like you're a Muslim, it's okay. At the end of the day, we all just want to be happy together. Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to steer us in a slightly, because I feel like we've gotten a good, I feel like there's an agreement about, nomenclature. We are defining things, we're giving English. Hello?
Well done, yo.
Yes. You can't read all these books. You guys, I studied law for 4 years. Again, I don't talk my words. I must say them. So, in nomenclature, anyway, but on a serious note, I think we can agree that there's a lot of words that box us in different ways, and boxing, I don't know, it could be argued that boxing isn't always a bad thing. I'm a firm believer that what do we call them, boundaries are also freedom. So maybe that's a topic for another day, but boundaries also have such freedom in them. But putting aside nomenclature for a second, and speaking about like just like masculinity and femininity, perhaps I can make it more of just a what if, right? Because I mean, even on the topic of, say, money, let me go to you, Wonder JR. What if she earns 3 times more than you? Complete the sentence.
I think that we have to address ego is easily bruised because of you achieving a certain status, and yet you do not see it manifest in its infancy, then really it's bound to create some sort of havoc. I feel like that is, again, that answer is based on the cause that determines the effect.
But if like I just pinch you small,
Yeah, go on.
just to understand, like, even where you are right now, your appreciation of this cause and effect,
Right.
what would that mean for you in that circumstance?
Again, my relationship with that person has to be predicated on something much more than the materialism. I think if we obsess with this whole, again, I align with when you talk about the spiritual element. I'm very strong on frequency and things of that nature, and God, Yeshua. So I feel like that is the bedrock. That's the blueprint. That's the foundation. If you understand in its true essence, then when that manifests, because for me personally, I've had those conversations, and I feel like, I mean, it wouldn't be I'm constantly growing. Don't get me wrong. I come from a place where we've been taught that a man has to be this, and we live in a very consumeristic, Eurocentric approach that is very individualistic. Negwe, what am I saying? Yeah, man. You know what I mean? Yeah, so I feel like we're very individualistic. We live in a very individualistic culture that praises you based on what you have, what you own, who are you in society. So the more we keep glorifying that, and for me personally, I'm trying to, detach or unlearn those patterns and become more spiritual and have the godlike frequency, which should not be, which slowly you get there and you start to you make peace with a person earning. And obviously it's not something that, you're not going to get a partner who's going to keep fronting it in your face all the time, how they are earning and how they are part of. So I cannot really again, it's spiritual. It's a spiritual thing. And so, yeah, I feel like for me, the more I delve into the spiritual, it becomes easy for me to navigate around that type of, approach. So hopefully I can have her, and she's making it big, but then obviously we are mindful of what the objective is.
Okay,
Yeah.
I definitely want to hear more, like, on that. I feel like in a way.
I mean, it's easy to say.
Yeah.
It's easy to say, but it's harder to practice. As a man, you don't want to be out there and quench up, bro. You know, eh? I don't want to be out there and you see, you have to holler at her to get into your account. You have to holler to get her account to get. It can be tricky,
Yeah.
again, because as a man, we've been told to be assertive, to be leaders, to be dominant, to be what? And then you're coming home and the madam is the one who's winning. Yeah, and it's like a lady who released a book that I was a part of, and the book was really about this. The lady, they get together, the guy is the breadwinner, and then the lady starts to rise up the ranks, and now the guy feels threatened. The guy is never home, the guy is always at the bar, the guy's ego is constantly bruised, and then the lady is trying to figure it out. She goes home to find her parents, and the parents actually tell her. It's actually when she finds out what actually glued the relationship between the mom and the dad, the fact that the mom always had to stay submissive and let the man dictate. And obviously, she tried to correlate where her parents were vis-a-vis where she is today. And it's a bit of a trick. So I think it's not easy, but again, I attribute it to the spiritual. That's the only way I can give an answer. That's the truth, And for me, that's my truth. And that's what I believe can help me navigate around that, those patterns and unlearn. And constantly I'm trying to do that, to evolve in this, to elevate my consciousness,
Okay. All right. Thanks. I think what's coming out more and more is a lot of the things that we believe, and keeping in mind, like what you said, I'm definitely going to be thinking about that even after this, about truth and how can we have different versions. But I think a lot of our things that we believe are so shaped on what we've been told. Who told you that a man looks like that? Who told you that a woman looks like that? So in assessing that, I mean, I'm curious to hear even from you guys now where you're at, like even first leaving, maybe where you've come from. I mean, of course, it's important, but where you're at now, and maybe we can switch to femininity because I know we talk about masculinity a lot, but we're a lot of women in this room, and even femininity is changing constantly. Yes, there are things that some people may say are at the base of it, but then other people are like, for me, it's looking a little bit different. But for a woman, let me go back to Claire. Like what do you feel that as a woman you're embracing more as femininity now? And it will be interesting also to hear from maybe you guys can be thinking about, you be comfortable. You guys can be thinking about what also toxic femininity looks like. We do talk about toxic masculinity more, and there's a reason for that. I believe there's definitely a reason, but it's just to say that also it's not that there isn't toxic femininity, that exists. So I definitely want us to touch on that. But yeah, let me start with you, Claire.
Anyone else ever thought of what femininity is? Because I haven't. Not really. I just feel like there's a softness to being a woman, being feminine.
Let me first stop you real quick.
Yeah.
Do you guys feel like that softness is weakness?
No.
You feel like it's strength?
Yeah.
It's interesting that we all agree.
Power.
Yeah.
Is there anybody that disagrees with that? Okay. All right.
So that vulnerability, and how we live in a world now, we are kind of fighting for our rights as women. There are more spaces saying vulnerability is strength. The fact that we cry is absolutely not a weakness. It is actually a strength. We have an outlet for our emotions, and that keeps us a lot more healthy as the feminine. But something I really appreciate more, the older I get, the more I appreciate my ability as a woman to see 10 steps ahead. I feel like that's one thing that we have as women, it's very feminine, that I can see a situation. For example, in my marriage, I can see a situation. I can tell my husband, listen, if we do like this and this and this, this is exactly what's going to happen. I'm not a prophet. I didn't have a dream. I didn't read it anywhere. It's just we have that sixth sense that is absolutely beautiful. And for me personally, it has been such I've learned to embrace it. I've really learned and listened to that voice, because I know for a fact that most men don't have it. It's not a masculine trait, it's a feminine trait. But another thing I love is just the softness. But we live in a world that is killing our femininity. Why? Because our economy doesn't allow us much room to be soft. I have, as a married woman, you guys, it is really, as a married businesswoman, it's really difficult to go out there and lead a team and have, because working environment is very masculine. You bring your tears, kindly go home. You're not going to make it here. We want to climb the corporate ladders and business ladders, want to build businesses, and if you're not bullish, you're not going to make it. However, like you can't come to into a room and start speaking. No, you can't do that, can you? You can't. Your voice needs to feel like this for you to get any attention, right? Now, I spend 8 hours with my voice like this. And then I have to go home to this. Do you know how hard that switch is? You're not even, it's hard. It's really difficult. It's really, really difficult. And then the feminine jobs that everyone says. They're cooking, washing, cleaning, blah, 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 blah. And remember, we live in the society, and the societal truth is that a woman does all these things, yeah? When I come home, there's no burden. When we come home, my husband and I, there's no burden for my husband to make sure that the child has eaten, make sure that the food, kuliko over, kumere kuliko over, you get? If the food is not nice, either he'll tell me, babe, lero kabuzemu. You get? So now I must, that time alone, that the time to make sure there's a menu, make sure there's this and that, and by the way, it's a tricky position. I've been married 4 years this year, and it's a tricky position. Before you're married, you don't realize it. You have all these, and then you're married, you live with a man, and yeah, it's your job. Because if my husband got into the pots and pans and made a menu for us, dear,
Ooh, let me stop you real quick. Because there's that thing now of the roles, and I mean, gentlemen, because women are primarily nurturers.
Before you finish, I just wanted to finish this point.
Go ahead.
Before you finish. So what I was stating to femininity is that the softness of, I don't have time to wash my face sometimes, to do my skincare routine, because I have 1,000,001 things to do. And that, by the way, men wake up and somehow they just look nice. They don't need to do anything.
Now the bar is
right?
just low.
Thank you.
They don't need to do any. They just wake up a kakulula. Literally, that is their entire beauty routine. Kakulula, kwa, 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 and he's done. You, on the other hand, try not using your sunscreen. By 2 o'clock, you can't leave the house. You get just us getting ready. So, but already that what I was trying to get at is that we live in a world right now that is against our femininity. Is set up. It's not against, but it's set up against that feminine touch, that soft touch. Yeah.
Okay. So as we speak about now that softness, you brought to mind the issue of roles, and because primarily women are nurturers, but the world is changing, and it's not to say that the basics have changed or like the fundamentals of who we are have changed, but as we change, I mean, even as men come into a greater awareness of even their softer sides, we're finding that men can be more nurturing, right? And I think that sometimes it puts us in an uncomfortable position, both for men and for women. So, when we find ourselves in circumstances where maybe a man is more of the nurturer, or the woman is the one who is more of a provider, right? It can be uncomfortable. It's not just me, right? Like you find yourself fighting with the things that deep down, like that you've grown up seeing, and you're like, this doesn't feel right, but also you want to be woke, and you're like, no, guys, that's their truth. But then, do you guys find yourself in that dance? Like you're trying to grow, but also something in you is like pulling you, like, he can't be nurturing. He can't be the stay-at-home dad. Are you mad? Are you mad? Like it's me that's going out to get the bacon. But I'm curious to hear because, are you guys finding that your minds are changing, or are you finding that you're in the same place? It's changing. Is it changing for you? What does that look like?
Yeah, I think one of the things that personally I've embraced is the ability to unlearn, because a lot of the stuff I know now, a good chunk of it is wrong, right? And I learned it out of no fault of my own, society, school, family. But I have the awareness to know that many of the beliefs that I have are probably wrong, right? And I think for every person, that should be the first realization, that should be the first step. So once you know that, it's easier for you to embrace what would seem like alien beliefs or, ways of life. For example, and it's good that we are sharing fairly unpopular opinions, yeah. So a stay-at-home dad, for instance, yeah, assuming I have a woman who's earning some really good money, right? I want that, I want that. And say I work from home, which I actually do. I work from home, right? So I don't get up in the morning to go to the office and then come back in the evening. No, 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 no. I work at home. Assuming I was living with a woman who goes out there to earn bread. And because the work that I do doesn't earn that much money, right? But she has a job that's earning some really hectic, money. The ability to unlearn and detach yourself from the anchor that you had in that the man is always supposed to earn more than the woman. It's a tough one, but it's something everybody has got to be able to embrace, because as you said, the world is changing. We live in times where women are changing the world. They're doing big things out there, right? That doesn't mean those women can't have men. They should be able to. The thing, though, my worry, as I had mentioned earlier on, is the challenge with society is the desire, the urge, the need to box people into those small little definitions and zones and whatever, which takes away from their ability to embrace new norms, new beliefs and all these things. So when you asked Wanda, assuming you had a woman who earns a lot of money and she earns way more than you, I was thinking to myself, if I had that woman, first of all, thank heavens, right? Like, what do you mean I don't want? What? Like, somebody who can just say, babe, are you free? Do you want to go for a trip to Zan? Do you want to fly out? And I say no to that? Are you mad? Right? So that's the first thing, right? Like, I'm very okay with it. Because I also think by the time a woman is earning that much money, she's got to be brilliant. She's got to be smart. So those are added advantages I'm getting. And then thirdly, a woman who's earning that much money and has, I want to call it the humbleness or the meekness to be with me, that in itself is something. Because she knows she earns more than I'm earning, but she's like, I like this dude. I like him. He may not earn, he may not be earning that much, but I like his stance on life. I like his philosophy. I like the way he handles his life. So let's work something out. The money is a very outside thing. It's a very, the money it's not something that even features in our relationship. It comes much later. Oh, that, by the way, I earn more than you. Oh, really? Happy for you. I'm good. Let's enjoy your money. It's for me. It is that simple.
The woman of
Bro,
your dreams.
Yes.
All right, we're going to take it one at a time.
Great.
Okay, Wanda, what do you want to say?
that is a movie I watched. I tell you, it did not end.
It's still going on.
That movie, bro. Neda, no.
The struggle to unlearn. The struggle to unlearn is very hard. That's the truth. That's the truth. And as you
But
say,
first that again. You will do it,
yeah, yes. If
and she will be kawa. Eh?
Look, as you mentioned earlier on, right? You've been raised a certain way. There are certain things you believe, and you fight, you struggle with them. Your dad provided, right? At least as much as you could see. It's possible that your mom actually earned more than your dad, right? But because society has created these these boxes. And so your mom gave your dad the money, and your dad appeared to be the one paying the fees.
True.
Right? And
Yeah.
that's how they settled on this. But they made it work. Why can't I make it work?
Today.
Why can't I make it work? Why can't I? Because my dad and my mom, if my mom earned more money, it never appeared. Nobody knew that. Why can't I do that myself?
In
If I have a
Uganda.
woman who earns more than me, why can't we do that? If we go out there, it doesn't appear.
That's a valid question.
Simple as that. Yes.
In Uganda.
I want to understand, Wanda, what is making you so skeptic?
First of all, I even met a lady recently who got married to a guy, and she earns more than the guy, but she got married to the guy just to settle. Sounds good, but even in the Bible, it's not there, bro.
I don't know if you want to
Careful, sir.
use the Bible. I don't think I
Bishop,
should.
please help us here.
Okay, so I've had the privilege of being very close to a number of men, and by all standards, hardworking men that desire to be all these things, but the future is now female apparently. So things are rough,
True.
right? And a number of these guys, for one reason or another, either contracts ended. Some of them have felt a calling into a space that is a rough space, and they're still on the ground. Meanwhile, the women, it's like they have a Midas touch. Everything they touch just turns to gold.
Right.
Everything, and they're excelling. These men, though, testify about their women. So what you're saying, I have seen firsthand. So these men that I'm with, they're like my inner circle. So I'm not just saying I know a guy. You know the stories. I have a friend. No, these are close friends. This is my huddle. These are the guys that keep me sober. The guys that ensure that I am not looking at another woman. These guys are the ones that are struggling in that area. However, because their wives are being exceptionally brilliant in all that they do, you would have imagined that they are feeling smaller, they're feeling inferior, but it has elevated them. You see them beginning to think more broadly, to have even bigger ideas and whatnot. They're visionary. And when you talk to these women, they appreciate these men for that. They're saying this man is a hardworking man. And it's not like they're just saying it so that they can speak life into them. No, they're actually speaking facts because I've seen these facts. And so it's not out there. It's right here. It's just that we have, and we're talking about the aspects of femininity. I would sum it up as this: a quiet and gentle spirit, a quiet and gentle heart. This does not mean that you are silent. It means that you have a quiet heart, that you're not at war with yourself and the world, that you know who you are. And that the thing that has defined who you are is truth. And so when the world throws at you all its lies, all the deception about how you need to, bring out the talons, it kind of, these women that I have met and I have seen, and I'm married to one of them, by the way. Woo. Yeah, just Kalango there. Anyway, so because I have seen this and experienced it, there is a sense in which I imagine you're on a journey. There's this guy who's driving this car, and he has a direction he's going. He wants to take us to a place. And there's this lady. The man feels peace, and the woman feels safety because they know where they're going. The problem is when they begin to look at each other as the car is going. There's an unsettling situation. This man looks at her because there's something he wants from her rather than focusing on where he is going. This woman is unsettled by this reality and starts talking back at him. Look at the road. You see what I mean? there is a lot of unsettled. There's an unsettling experience in that when the focus isn't where are we going, and if that is unclear, you will forever have an unsettling circumstance where femininity and masculinity are toxic, because in relationships specifically, because people do not know where they're going.
I'd like to chime in on that, on a woman's perspective. Now, I grew up, when I was growing up, my dad was very wealthy, but he lost his wealth at some point. So I experienced my parents, both when my dad had the money and when he didn't. And my mom had to take over. And she took over until the day he died. The respect between those two. That my father, you guys, I wish he was here. And he's the kind who would have actually been here if he was alive. But he was the kind of person who respected, who did not. So when I hear things like a man makes more money, a woman makes more money, these conversations that do not make any sense to me. It's not the money. The money is a tool. You get it as actually the person. Now I understand. Again, I saw it. I saw a very healthy relationship where my dad didn't have a cent and my mom was the and now what happened behind closed doors, but I was old enough to know the relationship between the two of them because he died when I was 26. They had a very, very respectful conversation. I mean, they had a respectful relationship. So for me, it's not the money, it's about the person, who I am and who the other person is. As you know, as you said, it's about the direction. Do you know where you're going together? Money is a tool that, yes, it's nice. Who doesn't want money? I work 4 jobs for money. So, of course, I'd love the money. But then there are situations where it's not there. So then what do you do? There's situations when the man, and this economy, 100 years ago, yes, the money was automatically for the man. Automatically. Now it's not that automatic. Actually, I see a lot more women have a lot more money than men. I know, most of the people I know, the women make a lot more than the men get. So it's more about but I understand as well that a lot of people have grown up in situations where they haven't seen the woman, like Biwall said, we don't know what happened behind closed doors. You never know the woman was slipping him, your mom was slipping your dad money under the table so that he can pay. Or he was giving. You don't know that. So because most of us have grown up seeing that the man is the one who gives us the money, it has become such an issue. And yet now, for me, I feel like I had a balanced experience when my dad had the money and then he didn't. And I still saw a very healthy relationship between the two.
Is it possible that even in light of right now, the transitioning of how the women are now the sort of earning way more than the men, that even the ladies don't know how to handle that sort of responsibility based on the conditioning?
100%.
Because, who we are is what we have been raised in our programming and so on and so forth. So you came from this place, now you find yourselves here. 100%. So does that contribute to the friction in that dynamic as well, unknowingly?
I'd say
definitely,
yes.
yeah.
I think for most of us, there's a dance that we're trying to. It's like you have all these things that you've seen and experienced growing up, and they shape so much of who you are. So when you're trying to change your mind, it's an actual struggle. It's an actual struggle to try and figure out how to change your mind. But I love that even as we're having this conversation, that's coming out a lot, like to be able to change your mind. It's tough. No one is saying that you're going to wake up and you forget all the things that are so deeply ingrained in you, especially when you've come to a big age, such as my own. You're struggling. You're like, so this could be this. Wow, that's new. Because I didn't experience what Claire experienced.
Right.
And most of us didn't have the benefit of that. So you find yourself struggling, and yet you're seeing the sense. Like you're there, you're seeing, I'm 34, this person is 34. Why am I expecting him to have more money? We've all been moving together. So why am I expecting him to have more? Ideally, we're probably about the same place, just about the same place. But we're constantly like, so I think that perhaps one thing we can mull over even as we close this first segment is how to change your mind. You know, are you able to open up and change your mind on some of the things, some of the wrong things that you
Yeah.
think are it? Like, this is the thing, but it's actually wrong. Are you able to like position yourself for that? Yay! I was actually going to ask for someone from the audience to say something. I don't know if there's someone nearby. You can give her a mic.
Thank you, Fiona. This is a really interesting conversation. I really, really appreciate it. And also the diversity of the group, like Claire said. Yeah, very, very nice. I have two questions, no comments, just questions. One is, you seem to be touching on it, all of you, and so did the Reverend as well. And maybe my first question is to you, Pastor. That tension is there, yeah? So between men and women, it has been there from the beginning. It's like we love each other, but we hate each other, yeah? It's like I want to understand you, but I also don't, yeah? And, you know, as you grow older, you're in that back and forth, yeah? A lot of us are. Actually, I'm going to date. Actually, I can't do this thing. or, you know, that kind of thing. Or nobody told us, and we are learning a lot of these things on our own. But I was wondering, Pastor, what is... So I know we like to say, what do we like to say? We like to say there's no formula, but the truth is the world has order, God has order, society has order. So there are some things, and I would like to know those things that you have seen over time, or those things that the Lord has shown you create more harmony between a man and a woman. We were not taught. We learn by burning our fingers, but I would like to know what you think that is. And I'm also curious for all the men, Wanda, Biwo, Pastor, you inclusive. You seem to all hint about not being satisfied with the definition of masculinity, yeah? But let's suppose that it's a box bigger than we can imagine, as big as the truth can hold. I would like to know what each of you would throw into this box. So a man who can, and I've seen myself as a man do this, and so if I could add some things into the box that would encompass masculinity, I would add in these things. Thank you.
Thank you. Such great questions. My goodness. Go ahead.
Can I
Thank-
just correct a statistic there real quick about women are not earning more than men today? I just wanted to say that 68% of women at the top, women at the top are earning 68% of what men earn. I think it's important to note that even though we're doing much better, we are not earning as much as men are earning or more. Thank you.
Thank you. That's actually important. I think wasn't it just last year that a Nobel Prize was won for the study on the gender pay gap, and we're actually we're in it's 2024, but is it 2024 though? Is it? Or we'll talk about that more later.
Yeah.
Oh, you can go ahead and answer Paula's first question.
Yeah, so let me just play back the question just to make sure I haven't forgotten what the question was. You were asking concerning, was it the roles of the people? Yes. And they're not, okay, so how do we make sure that there is harmony and then they're not knocking heads? And assessing your conversation, I'm making an assumption that God kind of defines your truth. That's the truth. Okay, so I'm going to respond in light of that. The only way I have come to see and experience that people walk in harmony is when where they are going is defined by that truth, God. So, as a Christian, we believe that God made man in his image. He made them female and male. And so there are aspects of us as human beings, both men and women, that reflect his image. How that is translated in our assignments, in our visions, in our goals, that is the goal. That's the direction. And so I come alongside, or she comes alongside me to say, you know what? Together we can see where this is going to be, what this is going to look like in view of the reflection of God's image. That's for the Christian. For the rest of the world, my hope and prayer would be that they find that truth and that becomes their goal. Because if society defines you, if I am a Muchiga first before I am anything else, I'm going to be rough around the edges. And then I'll be like, that's who I am. Deal with it. Because I've let my Muchiganess define me. If I am going to let my being a man define me, that's how men are. Deal with it. So I'm going to sleep around and please deal with it. If I'm going to let what I believe is truth, faith in God, define me, His truth, His definition, His values, the things that He has called me out to be, these things I begin to aspire to. I also believe that I am a fallen man, and so it is about progress and not perfection. I am aiming at being like the image which we as Christians believe is seen preferably it is seen mostly in Jesus Christ. So our pursuit of who I am, I want to be the kind of man that God wants me to be. I chase after that. And so the lady that comes alongside me is supporting me to be that. And I'm supporting her to be that in any aspect, whether it be work, raising children, whatever it is. That's for me as a Christian in response to your question as far as walking in harmony, because it is quite difficult to see the couples that I deal with claiming they're Christian and are almost wanting to kill each other because this aspect hasn't been addressed. We're always constantly looking for ourselves, trying to define ourselves in each other. And when that happens, we always fail. That's me.
Yes, sorry, Fiona. Yes, so as a believer and as a Christian, I believe that as well. What I was also hoping for is to sometimes as believers, we have a tendency in a room with other believers and not to say, like you've said, find harmony by two of you walking together towards God. And it's good. I love that. I believe in that 100%. I also think it helps in conversation like these to share a bit of practice, a bit of practicality. So for example, I'm a keen observer of my brother and his wife, yeah? There are certain things that I've seen my brother do that I haven't seen many men do. Yeah, they're just certain things. And there are certain things that I've seen his wife do that I've never seen anywhere else, yeah? And so I was hoping that you would share some of those. So for example, we are always trying to rope my brother into activities. Like there's this and there's this and there's this and there's this. Whether he wants to do them or not, whether he's excited to do them or not, he will never take a decision on any activity. Like I mean a 1 hour activity without consulting with his wife, which we rolled our eyes at for years. But now we have come to appreciate. Yeah, does that make sense? So I was just wondering if you can point out some of those things. I'm starting to realize that in practice, I don't say, maybe it might sound judgmental, I guess we're all judgmental, but there are certain things you can see and you're like, for you, let's first give you like 8 years. The way for you, how we are seeing you, 8 years. You're ready to get, they're just those things. And I find married people know them, but we don't, okay. They're single people, we don't know them. We don't know them. Like you guys know them, you have the game, you can see, but we don't know. And so that's what I was asking, if there are a few of those that you've seen of women who and men who, yeah.
Like, okay, so the reason I was trying to, I understand the need for the practical aspects of it. The reason I responded that way is that I don't believe that's the problem. Because those practical aspects are as many as the couples are there. There is a way they understand each other, and there is something that a couple can do, and you're like, nah. But they're okay with it. And then there are others that are like, this is how we roll, this is how it's supposed to be, and everyone is supposed to do like us. And so to avoid trying the boxing, right? Because many men have suffered at the hand of that. Like, you know, there was that age, the romanticization of relationships, that age where men are supposed to buy flowers, open doors, and carry chairs. And so in my generation, those are the things that defined who a man is. A man is the one who carries the chair. A man is the one who opens the doors and whatnot. And we made an art out of it and became players because of it. Yeah, no, because we knew how to, the panache, finesse, all that. We knew how to do these things. So we know that these are the things you love, and we are really good at perfecting this thing and crafting it so well, saying all the right words, doing all the right things, just so they can get into your pants. That's the agenda for why most men do that. So the issue isn't the practicality. The issue is the state, the posture of your heart, the posture of your soul. What is defining truth for you? And if that thing is a foundation that is shaky, then it does not matter how many practical things you will do, it will crumble, you will fall to your face every single time.
Banang, if you're not going to kill me, but I just want to say one thing, yeah?
Make it a short one.
Very short, Fiona, so sorry. But Pastor, I do want to say for all of us to think about, maybe not necessarily to respond, and I can find you on that side also after. I know quite a lot of women who are believers, who love the Lord, right heart posture, giving, genuine, but one guy smiles at her, her face looks like she might throw up anytime now, right? Meanwhile, in her heart, she wants to have a family, she's believing in the Lord, everything, but just like how to be, like how to have a simple conversation, right? I know women who, right? I know women who are like, I want to get married. After church, they are in the car, they have gone. They don't talk to anyone, right? Or, like those kinds of things. So I love it, again, Pastor, but there has to be some practice, like how they teach you at school, this is how you talk. How do you be? And for men as well, right? So the man is like, I'm looking for a wife. And so you see him, you're like, nice. Before you can reach him, he's talking to 6 chicks. You're like, guy, please, which is it? Yeah. And he's like, no, they're just all my friends. They're all my friends. You mean you? No, I also saw you. But these are just like, you're like, really? You're
How
not
to
helping
be.
how to be, Pastor.
Man, maybe how to be is a
Bishop.
whole other conversation, I think. Maybe it is. I
Tell
mean,
us.
I think we all understand where you're coming from, because the alignment, I think, determines so many things for a couple. In this situation, we're talking about a couple. It determines so many things. But I loved your second question. I would love to give these guys an opportunity. As we are closing the first segment, we are supposed to close over when. But if you guys could share with us, I love the way she put it. She said, like, if it was just like a vast thing that you could put, if you could put in some things, the masculinity is here, it's a basket. What are things that you would place in there? Things that you feel are valuable to the posture of a man just existing in this world, that you think are valuable.
Right. For me, it's I like to say the answer to the world around you is the world within you. And so I have to become the embodiment of what I want to attract. And so if I don't love myself, if I hate myself, either way, I'm the focus. There's an act of toxic self-importance. So that's what I want to reflect ultimately. So I believe in becoming. So I have to be to become.
If I could
So in
ask you
essence-
to add, like, in that basket, something that's literally a thing to do.
Become.
Become.
Yes, I have to become. Because become
Everyone
what,
asking to
like,
become what?
it's a consistent effort in becoming the best version of self, right? Which is what I keep telling you when I say, because I can't give what I don't have. I can't give what I don't have. And so the more I'm investing in self, the more I'm loving self, which is for me is my obsession, to love self, not from a narcissistic standpoint, no. To be who, you talk about the Bible, Christ says, if you have seen me, you've seen the Father, right? And they say the Spirit, the same exact Spirit that raised Christ from from the dead lives on the inside. What does that mean to me? Right? So the more I'm becoming aware of this truth, the secondary consequences attracting, or not only even a partner, the way I'm dealing with my mom, my sister, or anyone who's female for that matter, really, it comes from within. The answer to the world around you is the world within you.
Okay, well said. Be well. You can share the mic.
Yeah. First of all, I think you should clap for this because there's a lot of depth, right, in that, and I agree with him. The three things that I would throw into that buffet, if you want to call it that, one is loyalty. I think every man who is worth his salt has got to be loyal, and the loyalty is not just to your woman, but it's to your principles, right? And there's this running gag that men who are friends can hurl horrible words at each other and say all these things out of love, which is strange, right? The loyalty that a man must have to the people, to the things, to the places that are close to him should be unquestionable. So that's for me the first thing that defines masculinity: loyalty, loyalty to a cause, loyalty to who you are, loyalty to your people, to your children, to your parents, to your partner, to your friends. That's very key. Number two is self-awareness. And unfortunately, 9 out of 10 men are not self-aware. Because self-awareness is it's a very deep ocean. It's a very deep ocean, and you need to be willing to go in there and have no oxygen for some time. It's tough, self-awareness. Self-awareness requires you to ask yourself really, really tough and often painful questions that most men don't, right? And when you talk about, men calling out other men, right? It's because a good chunk of men are not self-aware. They don't look in the mirror and say, look, I'm a very arrogant person, I'm very short-tempered. I'm self-obsessed. That's the truth. That is who I am, right? So my definition of masculinity would be the ability to be self-aware. You need to identify who you are, what your strengths are, and what your weaknesses are. And then thirdly, hard work. This one is a no-brainer, right? Any man who wants to be called a man must embrace hard work. And not just hard work in the literal sense of working hard, but hard work in the sense that, because hard work it kind of embodies so many things. One, persistence, right? Because sometimes you work at something and the results are kind of not showing up. A man should be able to stay committed to that cause and not give up, right? Because that's what hard work is. And then hard work also is result oriented, right? A man who's worth his salt should be able to see that this thing I'm doing is fruitless and step away from it, right? And then hard work also involves a man being able to create a support system around him, right? Because you can't achieve much unless you have kind of like foot soldiers around you, people doing stuff for you. And the only way they can do stuff for you is if you're doing stuff for them, right? So any man who wants to be called a man, or wants to be defined as a masculine individual, should be able to have a support system.
So if you're those people who are, you're very mindful, demure, and you're just very cutesy, you're not the kind of girl who uses like stuff that's not environmentally friendly, you don't do too much. You're just like, is that organic? As in Ecoville is there. And then 40 who are, there's a whole story there. I spoke to Esther the founder of 4040 maybe last week, and I was telling her, do you guys want, and you know, we can be asking you, our bosses, please, do you want to have a stall? And immediately she was like, let me see. So 4040 is an organization that works with underprivileged children. They're doing the most amazing work in supporting communities of underprivileged children, providing them with meaningful learning so that they can impact their own communities. So please do check out their store. We have CC Beauty. The name speaks for itself, right? So some amazing products there as well. And Risa Naturals. Every day I sing Risa Naturals on Instagram. Please, you can go and glow up, okay? So please do check out the vendors that we have right behind here. We have a 15-minute break. Feel free to interact. Even as we are here moving amongst thee, we are together. Thank you once again, Owens. We'll see you in 15 minutes. All right, guys, let's get into our break.